Thank you, Mr. Chairman and ranking member. And gentlemen, good to see you today. Mr. Shear, question. I saw back in 2009 the GAO did a report, and they had some provisions that had to be worked out. I think it was about 14 of the 26. Have we gone back and recertified to make sure that those provisions, as far as this program, have been worked out and been rectified?
Well, in the statement submitted for today, we have 16 of the 26 provisions have been addressed by SBA. There still are, was it 5 provisions that are still left? I hope I'm remembering the number right. It's, and partially addressed 6 of them. So there's still six provisions that have not been fully addressed.
So is there a plan to make sure we can close that out? Because one of the things, we just come out of hurricane season down in our neck of the woods, and so I would want to hope that before we can rectify these things before we go into the next hurricane season. So,
just over the last couple of weeks, we've had some interactions, with Mr. Rivera and his team, and we think that SBA is getting close on some of the provisions, and the ones that seem to remain the biggest challenges have to do with loan programs involving private lenders.
Mr. Rivera, Hurricane Wilma, pretty important to us down there, and that was the last major storm that we had in the southeast Florida area. Do you have any information that we could get later from you as far as what were the relief that you gave to small businesses as a result of Hurricane Wilma, and maybe we can go back and track and see how those businesses are doing today?
Oh, absolutely. We can get you that information.
Okay, I appreciate it. The other thing, being from the military, I saw that a major disaster response plan to conduct a disaster simulation exercise at least once every 2 years. Can you kind of give us an idea of what that simulation exercise is like, and have you kept on par doing it every 2 years, and what did you learn from it?
Yes, Congressman. We actually do more than one every 2 years. We partner with FEMA. And they have a national level exercise every year. But for example, as a requirement of the Farm Bill, we do a biennial exercise. There's a peer of mine, his name's Steve Smith. He's with the Office of Disaster Planning. He actually creates the simulation. So if we go back to 2008, at the time FEMA had done the Chesapeake Bay hurricane. It was a mock hurricane that came through the national capital area here. We simulated the exact same type of disaster. So the test goes like this. It's a one-day exercise, but in the morning, what we'll do is we'll look at the track of the hurricane, the impact, and we have, for example, we have models. FEMA has us models that tell us the number of businesses, the number of units, structures impacted in the path of disaster. Then we go through a scalability model internally where we know pretty precisely how many field inspectors we need, how many customer service reps we need on the ground, how many loan officers we need, how many case managers we need. So we go through that whole process. We bring in all my staff, my senior management staff from all my centers, and then the Office of Field Operations brings in the district directors and regional administrators from the impacted area, and then we have the administrator, the deputy administrator, and the senior team that's there who's dealt with this. For example, for Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Lee, we were watching both of these storms, and actually we had Tropical Storm Maria that also hit Puerto Rico. We're actually watching these storms days before they come out. I mean, that's one nice thing about a hurricane. It gives you plenty of warning time. So we were positioning, pre-positioning, calling up reservists, and we were going through that whole process. So that the simulation is kind of a scope from that perspective. So what happens after this is that they call it a hot wash. I'm not sure why they use that
I know what
term.
a hot wash is.
So we have a hot wash, and they actually explain you could do this better, you could do that better. We've actually had several of these simulations. I'm not sure why. I was a little bit surprised that a lot of these these requirements have not been closed out, because we thought we'd closed out all but 3. But we're committed to work with GAO and Mr. Shear on getting these finally resolved, because in our mind, we've really actually gone through the process. But the simulation, it's a good exercise. It tests us, and there's independence between the Office of Disaster Planning and the Office of Disaster Assistance.
Well, last question. Did you find out, when I talk about my colleague, Congressman Barletta, did things work smoothly in rectifying a lot of the situations that he had in his area?
Well, we actually had a early on conversation with Congressman Barletta. He was gracious enough to let us know where the pockets of businesses that we could possibly set up a business recovery center. So we were early into the conversation with him, and we had set up a couple of business recovery centers in the disaster impacted area. You know, and FEMA helps us with disaster. The governor's office and the states help us with disaster recovery centers between the state, FEMA, and SBA. But we also, when we have situations like we had in Congressman Barletta's backyard, where there's businesses that there's a pocket of businesses that we can help. So we set up a couple of business recovery centers to try to see what we could do from that perspective.
Thank you very much. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.